Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, students, today our topic is how to measure national income. Many of the students they are asking about yesterday's lesson. It was not uploaded on the channel. The reason behind it was unrecorded yesterday due to some technical problems in the school. So I will do it in the class again whenever we resume the classes. Okay. So today I am going forward, that is about how to measure national income in a country. It is very important whenever we measure the national income, it will be used to set other economic targets. Like if national income is measured, we can set how much tax revenue will be collected by the government, and then we will be designing how much to spend on development of the country and how much will be used to spend on the defense of the country, and many other things can be decided if we know about the national income in real terms. The real national income is measured, and then it can be used to measure the real per capita income, which is very important in order to say how much materially people are becoming better off over the period of time. So, if a country is able to measure national income accurately, there are less and less errors. Errors can be there. If we are able to avoid those errors, then this statistic will be used in many areas to plan for the upcoming years. Okay. Now there are three methods which are used to measure the national income. One method is called output method. Output method. Another is called what?
सर आप एक मिनट ब्रेक लेते हैं। बच्चे ना कल हमारा लेसन रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुआ, वो रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि अगर आप रिपीट करने करवा जी नहीं तो इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग शेयर करनी होगा बच्चों के साथ।
मैं उन्हें कह दी क्लास में
कर देंगे आप?
हाँ जी, अभी तो मैं नया था।
चलिए ये वो करा देंगे बस ठीक।
Output method. This is the first method, and second is the expenditure method. And third method, that is about income method. There are three methods to measure the national income of a country. One is called the output method, another is called the expenditure method, and third one is called the income method. So output method means in which we are measuring the output of the country in a given time period. Like we are using different ways. You can say GDP. What is meant by GDP? Gross domestic product. Gross domestic product means the total value of the goods and services which are produced by a country in a given year. What it is? The value of goods and services. Gross means total value. This is the total value of the goods and services which are produced in the final stage of production. These are the final goods and services which are produced by the country within a given year. Keep it in mind, GDP, that is measuring the output produced within the geographical boundaries of a country. Like whatever output is produced by a country within 1 year time period, so that output is measured by a country in a given year. Either it is produced by the nationals or by foreigners within our territory. So that is called GDP. This is called the output method by which we are able to measure the output of a country. That is telling us how much output is produced, and that will be measured in terms of national income or GDP. Another measure which is also used, that is called GNI. Nowadays it is GNI instead of saying GNP. Previously we were having the notation of GNP, gross national product. Now it is gross national income. It is also the value of output produced by the nationals of a country within the geographical boundary or out of the country. This is the output of only the nationals. How to reach to GNI from GDP? if we add the net property income from abroad, whatever income is sent by Pakistani nationals from the rest of the world, that will be added to GDP to reach GNI, and whatever the income that has been earned by the foreigners over here and it is sent back to their home countries, that will be subtracted. So net property income, whatever the assets they are owned by our nationals in out of the country, in other parts of the world, whatever the income they are able to earn, like dividend from other public limited companies in US or in other stock exchanges, or rents which are earned, or sometimes interest income they are able to earn, all those incomes which are coming from other parts of the world to our country, they are added, and whatever income is outflowing from our country to the other parts of the world, they are subtracted. Then we will reach to GNI, gross national income. This can be the way how to measure GDP and GNI. Now keep it in mind, I said it is GDP, it is the value of final goods and services. Final goods and services produced by a country in a given year. So final goods they will be taken. There are some types of goods which are primary in nature, then they are we can say the secondary output or intermediate goods, and then the final goods are produced. Like we say, if a tire manufacturing company is producing the tires, these are not the final goods. A car or any automobile will be the final good. So we are taking the value of the final goods instead of the intermediate goods or primary goods in this case. The final goods value that will be measured by a country. Now which value we will be taking into account? If we are taking the market price of the goods and services, these market prices are inclusive of indirect taxes. Taxes are not part of the national income. So we are taking the factor cost value. Which value we will be taking? Factor cost value. What is the value of factor cost? This is the value factor cost value. I am writing factor cost FC, market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidy. If any subsidy is provided, then it will be called the factor cost value. Okay, market price, subtract indirect tax from that market price and add subsidy if any, then you will be able to get the factor cost value at which the output of the country will be measured. Now it is not including indirect taxes in the measurement of GDP. But here we find one problem in measuring GDP, that is called double counting problem. That if tires are also, in our previous example of tires and cars, if tires are also included into the GDP and then they are installed under a car, then the value of car will also increase. And if we are counting tires in the manufacturing stage and then the car value, again we are adding the tires in the car value, so these tires will be double counted. So there is a problem of double counting and GDP will be overstated if many times we are having double counting error or double counting problem. So in that case we will be using the value added method. What method will be used? The value added method. Value added method means, suppose a car is produced for you can say 1 million rupees. 1 million rupees, and now the cars is including the value of tires as well, and tires they were having the value of, you can say, 50,000. Okay, so we are using the value of car now 1,050,000 rupees, because if we are including tires separately and car separately, then GDP will be double counted. So we will see how much value is added into the car due to the installation of tires. So that difference in value is called the value added method, by which we are measuring the GDP. You can say if farmer has produced wheat and its value is rupees 1,000, and then it is converted into flour and its value has become, you can say, 1,200, and then ultimately bread is produced by the baker and its value has become 1,500. If we add all these three, the value of GDP that will be 3,700. If we are adding wheat value, flour value and bread value, you can say our GDP has reached to 3,700, but actually this is not the case. What is the value added method? This is the value of flour, the value of wheat. How much value is added by the flour mill? That is 200. And how much value is added by the baker? That is 300. Now the overall GDP is worth of 1,500 rupees instead of 3,700. So we are using the value added method or the final goods value. Final good is the bread. Okay. Now final good is the bread. Its value is 1,500, and if we are including all the previous things, then its value of GDP will be 3,700. So we are not using this method in which value of all the goods are added up, but we have a value added method. Wherever the value is added, that will be counted in the measurement of GDP, and then we say this is the value of GDP, which is the 1,500, and that is also the same value of the final value of bread. Okay, that's about the GDP, how to measure GDP by using the output method. Now I am going to take the other method which is used to measure the GDP, and you can be familiar with that. What is that? This is the expenditure method. Expenditure method means add up all the expenditures which are taken place in a country in a given year. You can say they are equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. Okay. Okay, in case of one thing which I forgot in case of output method, that is the presence of stock in the country. You know, in a given year, some goods they are not sold by a country, but they are produced in that specific year. So that is the stock value. If stock value appreciates, like prices they have increased, so we will deduct that appreciation, and if that stock value is depreciating, then we will add that appreciation. So changes in stock, they will also be included in the output method. Now come towards the expenditure method. That means instead of measuring the output method, we can easily measure C plus I plus G plus net exports. Consumption means household expenditures on the consumer goods. They are spending their income in order to buy those goods which are produced by a country. I am not taking here the imported goods. Whatever the goods have been produced by a country in a given year, consumers are spending their income on those goods. That is the consumer household expenditure. And now investment, C plus I, investment means this is the capital investment, like producers they are spending to buy different types of capital goods which will be used for the production of other goods and services. This is called investment expenditure. Okay, so consumer expenditures, they are added with producer expenditure, and then we say government expenditures on development projects. What are those development projects? Like which are creating employment opportunities in the country, like improvement in infrastructure. That is called government expenditure. So they are also added up. What comes in the category of net exports? Exports minus imports. Exports are, they are the foreigners' expenditures on our goods, and they are added to the aggregate expenditures. Whereas imports, they are our expenditures on foreign goods, they will be deducted, because we are measuring our GDP, and whatever expenditures are made by the foreigners on our goods, that is the demand of our goods, then we say they are added up in the measurement of GDP, and whatever the expenditures we have made on foreign goods, they will be deducted. Okay, this is what we are going to say. By expenditure method, we are able to measure one more thing. The same value what was present in case of output method, that should come to equal to our expenditures. Like your expenses, they are the income of other people. Okay, so where expenditure is made, that is made on the goods and services which are produced. So by this way we are able to measure GDP by using expenditure method. Keep it in mind, in case of government expenditures, whatever government expenditures are made on development projects, they are included. Whereas the transfer payments, you might be knowing the transfer payments, which are transfer of funds from one sector of economy to another. What are those? Like unemployment benefit is paid by the government to those people who are actually unemployed, and pension is paid to those people who are old age. These transfer payments are not included in the measurement of GDP or by the expenditure method, because no corresponding output has been produced against these transfer payments. Okay, so the transfer payments, they are excluded from the measurement of expenditure method of GDP. The reason is no corresponding output has been produced against those expenditures or these transfer payments. They are just transfer of funds from one sector of an economy to another. Like pension is paid out of the income earned by the employed people. Now they are contributing to the pension fund of the old age people. So this is just a transfer of fund. So no corresponding output has been produced. That's why transfer payments are excluded from the measurement of national income by expenditure method. Now come towards the income method. This is the third method of measuring national income. Like income includes what? Income of all the factors of production, like wages we are adding, plus rent we are adding, plus interest payments, that's also an income, plus the profit of corporate sector, profit of corporations, corporate profit we can say. Profit is also the income of corporations, that is the enterprises. If we add all these incomes, keep it in mind again, if someone is receiving transfer income, that is not included in the income method. We are including all types of incomes, either they are coming from abroad or within the country. Suppose a firm has produced a car, the value of this car can be 1 million. So that 1 million rupee, that is the value of that car. So this 1 million rupees divided into these income. Some of that money will be given in the form of wages, some of that money will be paid in the form of rent or in the form of interest, and the rest is the profit of that corporation which is producing the car. So that income which comes to us, actually that is coming from this output. That's why we say when we measure our national income by output method, expenditure method and income method, all will reach to the same value. Whatever the value of output is there, that's equal to all the expenditures made by all the economic sectors, and that output is also converted into the income of all the factors of production. Until unless this income is not spent, or it is being saved, or it is being taxed, or it is being used for import payments, then our income will be equal to the output and expenditures within the country. If there are any withdrawals, any leakages of this income in the form of savings, in the form of the taxes which are paid, or in the form of withdrawals, then our income cannot be equal to our expenditures on the domestic goods, and that will give us a discrepancy that our output method is giving us a different value for the GDP and expenditures are different, whereas the income is showing us a different value. Until unless we assume that there are no leakages, then we say all these things like output, expenditure and income, they will reach to a same figure. Like you people are making payments to the school for getting education, that is your actually expenditure to get education. But that is the income of the school which is distributed among teachers in the form of their wages and salaries and all other custodial members, and the landowner is getting the rent. If school has borrowed any capital on interest, that will also be paid to the capital lenders, and the rest is the profit. So all your expenditure on education is equal to the output of education, in a simple word, and that is divided into income and expenditures. So all three will be equated in this form. Okay, so output method, expenditure method and income method, they will reach to the same value. Keep it in mind. Our income can be, like we say, this is the aggregate supply. Income is divided into C plus S plus T plus, you can say, here I am taking, if I take exports over here, then it can be import over here. So income is divided into consumption, saving, taxes and imports. All this income is, if we want to measure national income by expenditure methods, add these variables, or you want to measure national income by income method, add these variables, then all will be balanced out. Okay, then all income will be equal to expenditure, and where this expenditure is made on this output which is called aggregate supply. Okay, so national income is measured in this way in a given year. The government, different departments, they start measuring national income because it is important to have the accurate measurement. But keep it in mind, sometimes we are having inaccurate measurements. What are the reasons behind? The reason can be the shadow economy or grey economy. Shadow economy means what? Some of the income is also earned, but that is unrecorded. Like if many of the goods, they have been smuggled and they are not recorded into our national measurements, that is the shadow economy. Or any painter who is earning income, but he is not recording his income to the government statistics. Like he is not showing his exact value of income earned. So this happens, the shadow economy that is present in almost all of the countries, either they are developed or undeveloped, or underdeveloped or developing countries. Now the size of shadow economy is also fluctuating. Okay, so this depends how much transactions of income they are recorded by a country. This is a documented economy. If all the transactions, all the earnings, all the expenditures, they are documented, then we are having less and less volume of this shadow economy or grey economy. And when people are earning differently, they are having more income than they have expressed to the tax authorities in order to save their taxes. Sometimes people want to save the taxes. This is called tax evasion. By illegal way, if they are saving taxes, that is called tax evasion. And sometimes they avoid taxes by legal ways. So sometimes the economic activity, although it is legal, but people do not want to pay more taxes, or they are illiterate to fill out their tax returns. So in order to get in trouble, they don't declare all of their income to the National Bureau of Statistics. Okay. So shadow economy, if that is present, so in that case our measurement will be wrong. Sometimes the economic activity itself is illegal. What is the illegal activity? It is a smuggling type of activity which is illegal, and that cannot be declared because there can be different types of penalization according to the country law. So that economic activity does not appear into the national measurement of income. Okay. So the shadow economy is also present. If the size of shadow economy remains constant, then we can say whatever the output method we are using, then we can have a little bit accuracy on the measurement of national income. And if the size of shadow economy that is fluctuating, then our measurements of national income can also have uncertainties and fluctuations. And then our tax targets cannot be set accordingly, and then government needs to borrow more and more money from financial consortiums in order to bridge the gap between its expenditures and the tax revenues. Okay. Now another thing which I want to explain today, that is about what is meant by nominal and real national income or GDP. Okay. Problems can be there. The government, if government is providing certain goods and services, they are not valued at market prices. That's also a problem of measurement of GDP. Like government is providing education below the market value. Okay, market rate is quite high, but government is providing below the market value. Government health services, they are also provided below the market value. Then we cannot measure the accurate level of national income. Now, what is meant by nominal GDP and what is meant by the real GDP? Nominal GDP means when GDP is measured at current year price level. When GDP, nominal means what? When GDP is measured at current year price level, then we say it is inclusive of inflation. It is measured at the current year price level. It is measured at current year price. It is inclusive of inflation. It is inclusive of inflation. Now, what is the real GDP? It is measured at constant price level. It is measured at the constant price level. You can say at base year, it is exclusive of inflation. So real GDP is not having the element of inflation in it, and nominal GDP is having the measurement of inflation as well. It is including inflation. Why do we have trust on the real value of GDP rather than on the nominal GDP? In nominal terms, sometimes prices they have increased in more rate as compared to the level of output which is being produced. For example, I say if we measure GDP at current year prices of 2000 and you can say 15 multiplied by output of 2015, price level is 10 and 1000 output is produced. How much is the value of GDP now? 10,000. You can say. Okay. So in the next year you can say this is the GDP of 2015. But if we say in 2016 the prices of 2016 multiplied by the output level of 2016. Now see, prices have increased by 15%. You can say there is 50% growth of prices and output has increased by only 1100. Okay, you can see over here output has only increased by 10%, whereas the general price level that has increased what by 50%. You can say in nominal terms our GDP that has increased by more terms. Our government can say our GDP growth has increased in this year, but keep it in mind this is the nominal GDP. It is not showing more increase in the output level. Output has only changed by 10%. I am taking very simple figures in order to explain you. Whereas prices they have increased by 50%. So we need to know in real terms what is the value of 2016 GDP, value of output of year 2016 at the base year prices of 2015. If we take the base year prices over here, like we are taking the base year pricing, now it is the real GDP of 2016. Base year prices of 2015 multiplied by output of 2016, you can easily see in real terms our GDP has been only 11,000 instead of 16,500. So now this real value of GDP of year 2016 that is exclusive of inflation, that tells us GDP has only grown by 10%, not by more than 50%. If you are saying that was the growth of prices, not the growth of output produced. Okay, now you can find how much prices have increased. There is another statistic which is used, that is called GDP deflator. This is the ratio of nominal GDP over real GDP into GDP into 100. I am taking over here, this is the 100. So nominal GDP of year 2016 that was 16,500. Real GDP is 11,000. And what is the real the GDP deflator? You can say it comes 150. So this is actually the same thing like consumer price index. We measured inflation by that index. Now 150 means this GDP deflator is 50% higher than the base year. So we say the prices have been increased. If we deduct the base year index, that is 100. So prices have been increased by 50% in this period. Prices they have increased by 50%. So that has caused deflation. The value of GDP in nominal terms that was 16,500. But once it is divided by when we have measured it in terms of constant prices, its value has been deflated in real terms to 11,000 because now its value is exclusive of inflation. So in exam, you will be given the two values. Suppose it is asked to you the GDP value, nominal GDP value of a country, nominal GDP value is $800 billion. But GDP deflator, that is 20% prices they have increased in the country. So can you find what is the real GDP of this country? Real GDP, you can find real GDP. Real GDP can be found by nominal GDP over GDP deflator, okay, into 100. Like if you divide 800 by 120 and multiply it by 100, that will give you the real value of GDP of this country. Now its value will be deflated to a level where inflation can be excluded. Okay, this is about the nominal value and real value. Keep it in mind, we are not measuring the GDP growth rate in nominal terms. We are using this statistic, the real GDP growth rate over the period of time that is being used by the countries. Okay, how much in percentage our real GDP has increased, not the nominal GDP. And the real GDP per capita can be found by dividing this real GDP value to the population size. If the growth rate in real GDP that is going to be higher than the population growth rate, it shows that this country is showing us increase in the material welfare of people. On average, their earnings are increasing as their real GDP is growing faster than the population growth rate in terms of percentages. That's all for today. In this lesson of today, we started our study of national income measurement by GDP, output method, income method and expenditure methods, and then we differentiated between nominal and real GDP. And what is meant by GDP deflator? Actually, the increase in GDP deflator value tells us how much inflation has taken place in this country. So we need to measure GDP in real terms, not in nominal terms. This is my point of action. GDP in real terms, that is measured, which is used for other statistics like how much will be the GDP per capita in real terms, and then we can compare it with other countries, whether our country has shown us more economic growth or less economic growth, by converting it into a dollar value. Like every country is measuring GDP, converting its GDP into dollar value in real terms, in purchasing power parity exchange rate, and then they will be comparing the performance of different countries around the globe, how their performance is taking place. Thanks all for today. See you tomorrow inshallah with new zeal and new things in mind. Okay, so tomorrow we will be doing the next lesson about, I don't know what will be the topic, I will see around and then I will explain to you in tomorrow's lesson. Thank you very much. It will be uploaded on YouTube as well.